Hey guys, today I want to go over my new desktop speaker setup, and I did a video last year where I talked about the amplifier I got and then the subwoofer, and then I did a comparison of a bunch of different speakers, and then I talked about which speaker I like better and my rationale between choosing those speakers. So this video is going to be a little bit similar because I changed out some of my equipment, so I just want to talk about those changes. So let's start off with the amplifier first. So this is the integrated amplifier. It's a Rotel A12. My previous integrated amplifier, as I've spoken about in that last video, was the Rotel RA1572. And this is actually a downgrade technically because the RA1572 was a $2,000 integrated amp and it had 120 watts of continuous power through 2 channels. This one is half of that. So this one cost about, well, the MSRP for this one is about $1,000 US, so literally half the price of the 1572. And the power is also literally half. It's 60 watts of continuous RMS power in 2 channels compared to the 120 watts of the 1572. So you might be asking, why did I downgrade? So one thing is, the RA1572 is a very, very heavy and big amplifier, and I actually didn't really need that much power. So the 1572 was a really big amplifier, very heavy, and of course it's a very good amplifier, very powerful. But the thing is, I didn't really need that much power because the speakers I ended up going with were the PMC Audio DB1 Golds, which are near field studio monitor type speakers. So they don't actually require that much power to drive them, and they're fairly small speakers. So I don't really need 120 watts of continuous power to drive them. And so I thought maybe I should save some money and I'll just get another Rotel model because I do like Rotel. Rotel is a Japanese company, by the way. They've been in the business since the 1960s, so they have a pretty storied history. I think they make some pretty nice value, just no nonsense functional products. Yeah, it's just the 1572 is a little bit too much for me. I didn't really need all that power to drive my desktop speakers. So I decided to downgrade to the A12. So this model is cheaper and lighter, and it still has everything I need. So yeah, it's 60 watts, which is enough for my desktop speakers. And I'll show you the connections. Pretty much it has the same connections, very similar connections to the 1572, so I'm not really missing that much. So yeah, I decided to downgrade to this and then sell my 1572 to save some money. Okay, so what does the Rotel A12 have? Well, it has a power button right here, and then it has a USB input here. Actually, I think this USB port can charge your devices. So if you have like a smartphone or something like that, this can actually charge a device, which is pretty handy, I think. And yeah, so you don't really need to, bring a smartphone charger and plug it into there when you can just charge through here. And then here's a headphone jack right here, standard 3.5 millimeter. This is to switch between the speaker systems. So this actually has 2 sets of speaker terminals and connect to 2 sets of speakers, or you can just buy wire 1 set of speakers, which is basically what I did with my PMCs. So yeah, or you can have them both on at the same time. That's what I usually do because I can buy wire my PMC speakers, which allow by wiring, and I can drive both of them, or rather pump the power through both of the terminals to give it a little bit more drive. So that's what I do. This is switching between different inputs, so it has a phono. So you can, I do hook up my record player to this, my Fluence record player, so I can switch between the phono input. There's a tuner input here, CD input, I don't use those. There's a USB input, so you can actually put your USB, connect a USB device through here, and I think you can play off of that as well. So that's pretty good. And then optical, right, you connect it to a TV or something. Coaxial is a digital coaxial input. Aux. This one is PC USB, so this is what I mainly use this for, is to connect it to my computer. So this will activate the DAC, which will connect it to my computer, and that's what I use to connect to my desktop speakers, is through the PC USB input. And there's Bluetooth as well, so you can connect your phone wirelessly. So that's pretty interesting. So it has most of the features I want. Menu, and then you can do plus or minus to adjust the settings. And then this is the volume knob, so it's pretty self-explanatory there. And let's take a look at the back. It's still pretty heavy. I mean, it's an integrated amp. Integrated amps are never very light devices. All right, so let's take a look at the back. We have a lot of stuff at the back here. So this is a ground for the record player. So that's what I use to connect it to my record player there. And then these are the phono inputs. So obviously these three I use for my record player to connect it. CD input here, tuner input, aux 1, aux 2. So this is actually, did I say aux was 3.5 millimeter? My bad. Aux is actually RCA input. So yeah, they got two aux inputs here, both RCA inputs, and then a pre-out. And then, yeah, you would use the pre-out, by the way, if you're connecting to another amplifier you want to use. If you want to bypass the amplifier section of this for some reason, you want to connect it to a power amp or something like that with even more power, you can do that. Or I don't know, I haven't tried it with my receiver. Technically, I could connect this to my receiver too by using the pre-outs. There's a Bluetooth receiver here. There's a PC USB input. So this is the DAC here that I use to connect to my computer. Supposedly, this is the first generation, what is it? The A12 Mark 1, right? Now they have Mark 2 out. So they improved I think they put an ESS Sabre DAC in it now for the newer generation. But this is the older generation. It has the Wolfson DAC. I don't know what model it is, but still pretty good. Supposedly it's 24-bit, 192 kilohertz, so still pretty good connection. You do need to install some additional software to allow it to go up that high though, which Rotel will give you if you download the drivers onto your computer. Regionally, I think it's 96 kilohertz. Yeah, it'll go up to 192 once you install the extra drivers. And then you have digital inputs here. It's got two digital coaxial inputs and then two optical inputs right there. Then you got a Rotel link, which is some kind of proprietary Rotel stuff. Don't really know too much about that. There's a EXT RAM in, not sure what that is. 12-volt trigger out. I don't really use this. And then RS-232 serial port. Again, I'm not really sure what this is for. And then you have a power USB. So there's another USB input here in addition to the front one. So another one at the back. And then you have the two sets of terminals here, like I said. You can use to drive two sets of speakers or by wire one set of speakers. So right now, most of the time when I use this, I have my PMC DV1 Golds, which have two sets of terminals, so it allows for bi-amping or bi-wiring. So I can actually bi-wire it here. So I usually connect it to both of these terminals here and then power both of them at the same time to give it a little bit extra oomph and drive. Yeah, or you can power two sets of speaker systems, which actually I will do later in this video because I have another set of speakers I'll show you guys, and then I'll power both of them because this has two terminals and then the power, of course. So yeah, this is the Rotel A12. I think it's a very nice amplifier for the money. It's not too expensive. So this was $1,000 US MSRP. I actually got it on discount. I get all this stuff on discount, by the way. Yeah, I got this at discount, so for $750. So I saved about 25%. But even at $1,000, I think this is a pretty good value. Like I said, Rotel, it's a storied Japanese brand, and I think they make some very functional products. And yeah, as you can see with all these different inputs and stuff, they have a lot of different functionality. So I just love how much you're getting for the money for Rotel. Like all these connections at the back. Like if you look at similar devices, and I've been checking out other amplifiers, of course, right, around the same price range. I can check out the NADS, Peachtree Audio, Cambridge Audio. Those are a few of the ones I looked at. Around the same price range. None of them have as many like inputs, outputs. Like the Rotel just provides a lot more for the money. Yeah, so I basically get everything I want, right? Bluetooth, digital inputs, optical, analog inputs, I have a lot, right? So basically get everything I want out of this Rotel. It has so much functionality, and yeah, for the price, I think it's quite good, actually. So yeah, it's 60 watts of continuous RMS power, which is fine. That's good enough to drive my desktop speakers. So yeah, that's why I went with the Rotel A12. So again, I got this for $750, which makes it a really good deal, actually, in my case. So that's why I got it, and it's a lot lighter and cheaper than the RE1572 that I had before. All All right, now I'm going to talk about the subwoofer that I got. I actually already talked about the subwoofer in my previous video, but this is just going to be like another brief overview in case you guys don't want to watch that video. I can just go over this again. But this is an REL Tzero MKIII subwoofer. Retails for $500 US MSRP. I got this again at a discount for $400. So yeah, this is a subwoofer. I got it because it's tiny. I don't want a subwoofer that's too big, you know. Like I live in a small apartment, so I don't have enough space to put big subwoofers, especially right beside my desk. There isn't too much room, or below my desk rather. For this, isn't too much room. So I wanted a smaller subwoofer, and REL actually, you know, some people say, oh, REL is not very good value for the money, you know. I think for me, the subwoofer is not something I'm going to spend too much of my time on. For me, this is good enough. Like, I didn't care about researching the best subwoofers and stuff like that. I did do it for the amplifiers and the speakers. I did a lot of research. Subwoofers, not so much. I mean, to me, this is not something I think too much about. It's just the subwoofer. It's just, you know, give me one that works and that sounds good enough. For this one, I like the design. It's just a black cube and small. So that's the main reason why I chose it, actually. It's small and it's got a nice design. I know REL is not known for their value, but oh well, you know, I'm not going to go for an SVS subwoofer just because it's cheaper. If, you know, I like the appearance of this better and the size. So yeah, let's see what's on the back here. Again, REL Acoustics is a UK company, British company. They only make subwoofers. They don't make anything else. They just specialize in subwoofers. That's all they make. It's a Tzero MKIII, that's the model. So they have a few different inputs here. You have a high-low level right here for this knob. Then you have a 0.1 LFE level for this one. So the LFE input is basically what you use for your subwoofer out from your either receiver or amplifier, whatever. You plug into the 0.1 LFE. And then the crossover, you can choose where it crosses over. Either do 30 hertz to 120 hertz, depending on, well, it's depending on how much frequency you want to go to the subwoofer. So really how much of the frequencies you want this to handle. If you actually have a bookshelf speakers that can handle a lot of low end, you might not need this subwoofer to handle that much. But in my case, I just put it right in the middle here, just for simplicity. And I just really leave it. This is just like a set and forget type of thing for me. So I don't need to deal with it too much. You have a low level input and a 0.1 LFE input. So it really depends on your amplifier or receiver, whether you use a pre-out or a dedicated subwoofer out. You might need to experiment. For me, I use the 0.1 LFE input, but for some amplifiers, they don't have a dedicated subwoofer out. So actually for my Rotel, yeah, my Rotel actually does not have a dedicated subwoofer out. So what I'm using on my Rotel is actually the pre-out. So yeah, I'm just using this pre-out. Yeah, there's a pre-out here, and the top one will just send the subwoofer frequencies. So I'm just using the pre-out here because this doesn't have a dedicated subwoofer out like some other amps. I think that's the one thing I maybe don't really like about this Rotel is it doesn't have a dedicated subwoofer out. But I mean, it's fine. I still use it still kind of does. It's just not labeled as one. It's just the pre-out. But yeah, I use the LFE input here. There's also a low level input. So it really depends what your amp and receiver is outputting. You might want to experiment with using either one of these. So some might work better with some receivers or amps than others. So yeah, you can experiment with using the subwoofer cable and then seeing whether it works better with the low level input or the LFE input. The LFE is usually the dedicated one, but yeah, you can experiment with that. And then there's the phase selector. So there's 0, 180 phase. Yeah, I usually leave at 0. I'm not really sure why I would switch the phase, but there's a 0, 180 phase selector switch here. Then there's a standby mode. You can put it in standby or not, depending on, well, if you want to be always on or not, or you want it to stand by. So I leave it on. I do want this to stand by, you know, in case sometimes I don't want this to waste too much power. And then there's the on, you know, switch right here. the power, if it goes there, and then there's a high level input right here. So this one also takes in a high level input, which I guess you can use to filter how much highs you want to go in here as well. I haven't experimented too much with this, so yeah, I guess if you want to actually put your highs and your lows here, I guess you can, and experiment with how much gets filtered in here, but I'm not sure. Like, I don't really use this, so maybe some people who use this more can tell me exactly what you do with this. So it's a high level input, I don't really use this, so not too experienced with that input. Anyways, I like how small, how portable this thing is. It's just a really nice small subwoofer. So yeah, I didn't care too much about the value stuff and how great it sounds for a subwoofer. It's just, for me, a sub is a sub, so I'm not going to spend too much time thinking about it. I just wanted something that's nice designed, small, compact, and it's by, you know, reasonably well-known company that's been in business for a while. So yeah, this is the REL Tzero MKIII as my sub. So some of you may be wondering, where is the driver here? So this subwoofer actually has a down-firing driver. Some other subwoofers fire from these sides, but this one actually fires from the bottom right here. So the down-firing driver is a 6.5-inch driver. So that's where it is. So yeah, that is the REL Tzero MKIII.